Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside AVL, and today I'm with a good friend. I say this all the time, but Jack is a good friend, Mr. Jack Miller. What's up, man?
Jeff. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just trying to get that information out to the masses.
Yeah, and the last time we met, we were eating tacos.
We were.
We were talking about what?
We were, yeah.
Alien taco.
Alien tacos.
And we were talking about a lot of good stuff about building community, especially in Jacksonville, where there's a lot of different parts of community spread out a little bit. And just to be able to sit down with another audio engineer in Jacksonville, it just feels taboo in and of itself. So I'm thankful to be here with you in this cool space that isn't like a closet or, outside is too hot. So some parts of the year it'll be fine. But yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for being on the show. I did a chat GPT. Most people say, hey, let's Google somebody, but I chat GPT'd you. You interested to hear what it had to say? I know you guys want to hear this. So I'm just going to read it here. The University of North Florida, he works for them. He's a highly respected drummer, audio engineer, and educator who leads UNF's music technology and production program as its area coordinator. He has a couple degrees, a bachelor's and a master's degree in jazz performance with UNF. He's an audio engineer, recording engineer, music production, music technology. You name it, man. You seem like you've done a lot of stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, when I was more naive, I dared lean into the jack of all trades thing. But, there are certain people that do things like really, really well. And there's your experts. So yeah. I know what I like to do, and it's in the realms of drumming, audio engineering, and educating. And that's what I'm gung-ho about. And within those areas, I do work professionally as a freelance and in tandem with a few different entities or record labels or schools, but also working with a school like University of North Florida, where I went to school. So back in my alma mater in the past year, leading their program has been...
That's pretty impressive to go from student to... What's your title there?
Instructor and
wow.
Area Coordinator.
Professor Miller.
Yeah, so they still call me professor and all that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What part of audio grabbed your first attention?
So my first experiences with audio is actually a
teenager.
For the longest time, I used to say it was when I was in middle school. I studied with this drummer, a Grammy Award-winning drummer and producer named Nate the Beatbreaker Robinson up in Atlanta, and he works with Lecrae and does his own stuff too as an artist. And he's incredible. Shout out to the Beatbreaker. But he had his own music studio and his own recording studio within that I would take lessons at. And I remember going to a camp with that he ran, and you would record at the end of the week. And that was my first studio recording experience. But of all the times I've been asked that question, this is the first time that I've actually considered this as a part of it. So in elementary school, when I was, in like first grade, I started taking piano lessons, and then like a lot of us do when we're like real young, we try it for a year, we do it for maybe 2 years, and then we're done with it, right? For piano,
I spent all that money.
yeah, exactly. Those 2 years of piano lessons wasted. So I did my 2 years, and man, I wish I had done a million more, but I did that, and I kind of got to the end of my excitement with it, and I would play like some pop songs like Happy Days or like old TV themes and Star Wars or whatever. So nothing insanely impressive, but I had a knack for wanting to entertain people and wanting to create things. So I had a buddy who also played guitar, and He got into playing guitar when we were both in second grade. So I do remember this is the first kind of inkling. I would set up a camera just like, these and aim us at my staircase. We would just stand on my staircase and we would sing nonsense songs that we would hear on YouTube. So I guess my first real recording experience was the process of me and my friends standing in my staircase, me singing some nonsense song while he bangs away on his guitar, going back and forth in between the camera and starting to get obsessed a little bit with that, like back and forth, like, oh, how was that? How was that? Let's do it again. Let's go a little bit better. Because even though it was nonsense, we were actually aiming for something. And let alone I was the one that started getting into like editing it in the computer. So I think that's really where it started. But as far as my first experience kind of in a studio, I got to give all that credit to Nate Robinson, because he cultivated a cool space where I could actually get comfortable with recording and realizing that the recording studio is the space where obviously a lot of people find their home to create, but it's different when you're a creative person who performs either in the studio or in front of live people, that it's totally different, and one usually feels like home or the other. And the studio's home for me, man.
Yeah, as far as audio, man, I liked soundscape. Sound design was fun. Foley.
Yeah.
And I'm not a musician, so I consider myself, I mean, it's kind of hard to say I'm just a sound engineer, but I got to take the word just away because I am a videographer. And if you've been watching any of my videos, this is like a 3-year now journey to where I feel like the quality of the audio has always been there, but the video's been lacking because I've always been an audio engineer. And, just picking up a camera and learning all these different things, lighting, all that kind of stuff, gives me in that creator role.
Yeah.
And so, but also helping someone create is also something that's very inspirational. It's very uplifting. You get that same creator's high when you're connected with someone else that's also creating and having some input into it, What eventually pulled you into teaching? Because you have a bachelor's and a master's degree in jazz. What led you to wanting to teach? Is audio teachable?
Is audio teachable?
Yeah.
Whoa. It's teachable, but it's not programmable.
I would say, man, it's hard to teach someone the art of something because it comes from a different place.
Right. And that's almost what I'm thinking, is that the reason why it's not programmable inside a person is because of that subjective tinge, let alone that everybody's hearing has been subjected to some sort of, dare I say, trauma of being near an airplane or something. Not even everyone's hearing the same thing. So even if I tell somebody to paint a sound color blue, their perspective is totally different. So you tell them, oh man, never put too many, too much 400 hertz in a tom, but somebody might not even be hearing it the same way. So it's kind of interesting where you could teach somebody, but you can only change their subjective perspective so much in a way that they're almost always going to make similar decisions. But that's the process of getting better and getting to serve the music as an engineer.
I think it comes to a certain point, trying to teach someone to do it. Like, it's either they have it or they don't. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to, you either have an ear or you don't have an ear.
Yeah.
If you don't have an ear for it, you could train yourself, but it's kind of like if you're not good at basketball, you're not good at whatever, you're not going to be able to professionally excel at it. So, there's that.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain level you have to get to.
That's what it was. Digital audio, I don't know if you know this as a professor, I'm sure you do, that it's considered static, right? And so where the hang up is that people will record something and there's no dynamic fluctuation, right? And so without any dynamic fluctuation, there is no heartbeat of the music. And I think people get drown in the fact that it's digital audio and that, they want the metering at the top, but if there's no fluctuation, I think that's the difference between digital and tape. Tape had so much more warmth, and there was actually peaks and fluctuations in it that, you can't, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that you can't really teach somebody that. They have to almost have an epiphany within their own head, like, oh man, I didn't, I think when I first learned in audio, just signal flow, once it connects, like signal flow is like one of the most important things other than the art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I love that, because similar to what you said before, is like it can be a subjective thing. And when you tell somebody something, whether they're at a place where that actually makes sense to them or not, that might be one thing. Man, now I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, man, I do think it's totally teachable. Oh, and one thing that it depends on is how much music you've listened to. And that's a part of that subjective thing. So one example that I use with students a lot is if you're trying to mix jazz and you've never listened to jazz before, you may be the greatest mix engineer. You might know every tip and trick in the book, but it's like showing a gifted painter a picture of an orange and say paint an orange, but they don't have the color orange or something like that. Like, you got to have the tools and the knowledge and the background on what it should be in order to actually execute what you're doing, and having a lot of that music background too, that'll help people even more.
What can a classroom really do for a student, do you think? I mean, obviously there's exposure, right?
Well, exposure to different topics. So one thing that I feel responsible for is making sure that if you're coming into the program, it's to educate you on all the different aspects of getting or having a career in audio. So to have a career with a background in audio, that could mean that you're working in a corporate office building. My first audio job was at the Chick-fil-A headquarters in Atlanta, working with a third-party contractor called AV Tech Services. So even corporate office buildings need AV audio assistants. You could be working in live broadcasting. You could be working more in media and composing or doing Foley, like we were just talking about, or sound design. You could be working in live production, right? And there's so many careers within that, whether it's actually backline or production or front of house.
There's a lot of job openings, but not a lot of people can do the job.
Right. So my responsibility at school is to say, hey, these are all the different paths you can take. And one thing that I'm very serious about, and one thing that we can actually do at UNF, is because the size of our program is not outrageously big, I take it very serious that, hey, I know who you are and I know what your goals are. So that way, when you're in my class, and like one class I teach is audio for media applications, and we talk about doing podcasts or doing voiceover work or composing for commercials or video games. If I know that's something you're interested in, then I'm gonna be paying extra attention to you in that class, because again, my responsibility as a teacher and the higher level education system, partly because I come from a blue collar, like, let's work type of family, is I have a responsibility to at least enable you to have a career in this, related to this degree, if you so choose to, or at the very least.
I went to the Art Institute of Seattle, which is no longer. And following people on LinkedIn, like my professors were always, they didn't have college degrees. They were industry taught, like Steve Barsati, Tom Faffel. Tom Faffel was the audio engineer for Hart and worked with Nirvana. All of these great names, Jim Rivers, so on and so forth. And they were able to teach us that in school. But a lot of people, I didn't really keep up with all of my classmates, but not a lot of them are still doing audio. Like they learned this trade, they learned these things, but they didn't actually get a career in audio that I could see. Some have audio related topics and stuff. My friend Rodney Outlaw, he's actually ran for public office or something like in Walla Walla, Washington, but like he's always had a studio. He just recorded an album, there's always those types of things. But my career with audio is like, I've been with Guitar Center for 16 years. I was with Mackie for 4, so it's, so many different elements that you can step into that I never saw myself selling audio. Like I saw myself like, hey man, I want to work in the studio.
Yeah.
I want to do live sounds. And then you figure out that, well, studios are really hard to come by and you don't make as much money. Live is where it's at, where you make the money.
Yeah. And when students come to me and say, where can I start if I just want to get my leg in the audio industry? Normally I point them towards production companies.
You do internships?
Some do.
Some do.
Depending on the company and depending on their schedule, because I mean, some here in Jacksonville, like AVL, they handle a lot of really large festivals, and those, you really don't have so much time to be like, let's make sure that you know how to plug in this special type of 5-pin microphone or whatever it may be. But, to me, the benefit of getting your start in a production company is, especially if you're wanting to go into live production, is that you get the opportunity to meet other people that are already working in that. So sometimes people that are working in regional production companies, they're also coming on and off the road with touring acts. So it could be a matter of, hey, the lead audio person or the A1 is looking for an assistant in A2 on their next run with whoever, and you've been kicking butt here in the shop and taking care of things when we did that wedding gig for this production company, and I want you to come out on the road. And it's networking just like anything else, and it's ripe with the people that are doing that, and it's a stable job and probably the most accessible ground level right out of college jobs in audio and live production that you can get.
It has to be hard to teach them instinct and performing under pressure, right? So like they learn something. Do you have a live program at UNF as well? Like live sound program?
Yeah, so we have 2 classes that teach, basically we call it sound reinforcement, and all the situations, whether it's just providing lapel mics for a wedding ceremony, or you're actually setting up for like an acoustic guitarist who's also a singer, and what's the most appropriate setup as a sound engineer that you can bring for these different situations, and how to also approach different environments and have your choices as far as gear and the decisions you make as a mixing engineer for these live scenarios. Like what's going to make these less than ideal situations workable, so we teach them how to do that, and then ideally that prepares them to go out and hit the ground running a little bit in these production companies. Because at the end of the day, one thing that I really need them to get with is that it just needs to sound good. And it doesn't need it. The show isn't about the engineer either. It's about just almost being transparent, and it should just sound as if you're just there and almost not even having any thoughts about the audio.
Well,
no complaints,
garbage
right?
in, garbage out. So there's that. But
Right.
I think a lot of it is that you, like anything in life, you learn from experience more. I mean, you can learn the basics. Your parents learned you the basics of life, but then when you go out, they taught you the basics. You're going to learn trial by error. And I could say that I had one live sound class, and the rest was I went off to an island, Vashon Island in Seattle area, and I learned live sound just in the raw, like made the mistakes. But another thing is too recognizing what those mistakes were, and like going back to earlier, I think as long as you know DSP, in the proper application of compression and EQ and stuff like that, and the signal flow, you're off to a better start than most people. But you have to have the signal flow ingrained in you. And it's not that hard, but
it takes time.
It's
though.
not hard for us.
Well, I know what you mean though, and especially when you're moving from console to console or brand to brand, then you almost got to go through your Rolodex.
But yeah, different.
But that's one thing that we also do in one of the classes. I set up all the mixing consoles that we have. We have some old Yamahas. We have some Behringers. We have Allen and Heath. So we almost do like how people do in the gym and rotate on stations. So that way people or I'll say, here's the workflow. Like I want you to set up a signal chain for an acoustic guitar player, and there needs to be, this, ratio of compression on here, and you're adding a high pass here, and do it on each of these consoles that are all different.
What ratio to compression do you usually start at?
On acoustics?
Yeah.
Live
Like
or
4 to
tracking? Live or recording? Live?
Well, live's a lot different because you have to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot more elements there.
Because live, I'll go more like a 6-to-1. Because usually, unless if it's like really like an acoustic singer-songwriter thing, acoustics are supposed to be more tucked into like a wall of guitars or something, especially if you're talking about worship music or rock music.
Yeah.
So I'll use something more like a more aggressive ratio just to really keep it in place and making sure that the attack and release aren't working against it.
I always like to say it's called a sonic jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you have to make sure that all the frequencies are in, like, the bass can't overpower the kick drums low end. And, you have to be able to hear all those different elements. I mentioned on another podcast about trying to teach people about that. One of the things I learned in school that kind of stuck with me is that, I almost said digital audio does not exist unless it's located in 3 places. That's one of them. Dissecting a song.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it in a podcast before, like dissecting a song is very important skill to be able to learn. And it's something that I think most students should start out. One of the first things is sit with yourself, put on some headphones, and listen to every single instrument that's on that song.
That's a class that I have my seniors do where it's just that. We dissect albums and
what does the kick drum sound like here? Why does it have a boom or a thum?
And why does the kick drum sound there? Like even diving
it's jazz.
deeper.
They tune it higher.
Yeah. And to me, being in college and figuring out this stuff is not only the time to figure out like what is it doing and all that, because I'm there to give you the answer if I know it. If I don't, I'll go find it out. But also really consider like why, because you have the time to dive deep into an album and do as much research as you can and figure out what was going on that day to figure out the reason why the kick drum was like that. Like, for example, there's this great jazz drummer, Elvin Jones, who played with John Coltrane and played on A Love Supreme and a bunch of his other albums. And at a certain point in time, his drum sound drastically changed. And it was because his wife started setting up his drums for him. So it's things like that where somebody else might be like, oh, well, man, his ear really changed and he started hearing things. No, it's just somebody else is setting up his drums.
You know what's great about a woman's hearing?
What's that?
Is that they can technically hear higher frequencies than men.
Are you serious?
Yes. Look it up later.
That's awesome.
Chat GPT it. Yeah, so
Does that
women
mean
can hear more up into 17, and the men are at like 15.
Does that mean we can hear lower though?
I don't think so. But if you want a clear mix or know something that's wrong with your high end in your mix, ask your wife.
Huh. All right. You know how
like, hey,
people reference on
weird about this?
People reference on the mixed cubes and stuff. I use my wife as a reference.
Yeah. Moving on the craft and the character and worth ethic of your students. When employers look for young audio engineers to hire, what stands out the most to them?
Commitment. Yeah,
the
hands down.
Of it. Yeah.
If you're flaky, we don't have time for that in production. In the
I don't have time for that anything.
Seriously, and the higher level you go in professional stuff,
and then you get known for being flaky.
There's no time for the BS anymore. It's you show up and do the job. So just that alone in your communication skills, being direct and just not being flaky with your communication skills. So again, just taking the opportunities that are coming in front of you and treating them seriously, whether they're for you or for not. I also see younger people do this because, especially now with social media, a lot of people have the idea of like how I should be treated, but they don't understand the context of the situation. In that, I would love to receive, $2,000 every gig that I do, but I'm also playing in the rec room of my church this afternoon. And I don't think that's a fair ask of, maybe a congregation of 40 people to charge the $2,000. So, to just be willing to work with situations and get your feet wet first and be willing to work with people.
I mean, everybody wants to get paid.
Oh, of course. And that's the other thing too.
Sometimes you have to work for free. And then it comes to a point where like, nah, man, I ain't doing that unless you pay me.
Oh, of course. And, I can only hope that everybody can get paid. And if you don't, it's, for me, if it's for a good cause or if it's for a really good friend or maybe I did you a solid or something like that, there are situations, but, it's also a matter of if you're stepping into like a professional environment, if it's a professional environment where other people are there on a job, you're there to do a job just like they are. When you do a job, you get paid. So in that sense, yeah, you should get paid, in my opinion.
How much do professionalism, attitude, reliability matter compared to raw technical skill?
That kind of comes back to perspective, because you could be so insanely skilled, but
you're a jerk.
Or you're a jerk, right? But you don't have the vision or the perspective of what the end product is going to be. Right. So it was kind of like the example I used before is you could tell a painter to go paint an orange, but if they've never seen an orange before, then, it doesn't really matter what they paint. It's not an orange.
Right.
Right. So, and that's the thing, is like skill will only get you so far. It's also a matter of experience. And then what you just said, the most important thing is like your attitude and your character. And that's why the first thing we just said, as far as going out into the world as a young audio engineer, what is the best thing you can do is just like your communication and just not being flaky and showing up and acting professional. And when
being
you do
teachable.
that, and being humble too, man.
Oh, man.
Or in those lessons of, there are certain rooms I learned young, when you're in certain environments, in certain rooms, you're not there to offer your opinion. You're there to do your job. And if somebody asks, then sure, but, that's learn humility young.
You got to put your ego to the side. I remember one of the best compliments I ever got when I was starting to work live sound in downtown Seattle was that the bands liked going and playing there because I was there, and that they continually wanted to come back because it was so easy to work there. And the only trick was I I humbled myself. I realized I don't know everything, but I listened to what they wanted. Like you said, it's not about me. It's not about me at all. It's about, it's about the man or the woman paying me, or, it's about the artist that I'm paid to support.
The customer is always right.
The customer is always right when it comes to the band. And you have to respect that. Otherwise, the word gets out and that's it. Your audio industry career is in the trash.
Right. Speaking of starting in audio, like I'm sure like many people, part of my audio journey early on was through church, and the skills you acquire through that, but like the mentality of serving people, not only did that affect me as an audio engineer, but as a musician too. And the idea that, again, it's when people go to a concert, they aren't like, ooh, I can't wait until the engineer turns on that throw delay.
They're wearing black for a reason.
All hard right, all the way hard left, right?
Maybe we would.
We would. But we're 2 of 1,000 or whatever, So we've outed ourselves now. We don't go to concerts for the music. We go for the engineering and just the engineering. But
that's weird.
It's I know, right? But
it's because you got in free because you know the engineer.
Yeah. Well, you didn't. I didn't get in free because of the engineer. I bought my ticket just like everybody else.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that ego thing, and it's the subjective perspective of knowing what the end product should sound like. But again, ego. You can think, oh, this is what the snare drum should sound like, but what does the music tell you to do? In your Rolodex of all the songs that you've heard throughout your life, compared to what is coming out of the speakers right now, how do you make what's happening on the stage just be 1,000% itself? And that really can only come from, again, that Rolodex of perspective that you bring as an engineer. That's why some of the most gifted engineers in the world are the older people, because they've heard so much music and they can work with an artist, whether it's in a live situation or a studio situation, and be like, oh, this is what you're going for. And it takes them 5 seconds because they've been doing it that long, but they're able to recognize it first.
Where do you think students struggle the most when they get a real job? Is it the ego thing again? I mean, I think they probably get hired because they don't have an ego and they're teachable.
Those are the ones that stick with it and end up being okay, because it can be ego. Some people feel like, you're in the trenches, you're doing the work. When's my turn? Like, where are my flowers? Like, what am I owed? And to that, I kind of say, I think you might be in the wrong business, or you need to learn how to really be patient, or start hustling for yourself. Because working for a big corporate company, they aren't checking in on you to make sure that, you're on your way to stardom. They want to take care of you, of course, as an employee, but that level of checking in on everyone doesn't exist in corporate America. In the best scenarios they do, but realistically they don't. So I tell people that you have to be patient, you have to be diligent, you have to show up every single day and just work. And if you continue to put in the work and you aren't dropping the ball in professional situations, you're going out, you're talking with people, you're networking, you're just on your P's and Q's, it's just a matter of time. Because the industry is filled with enough people that we know, like, started and may have been great, but either get phased out by doing the same job for so many years, which is burnout and all that. And that's a totally different thing to navigate in and of itself. But there are enough people that out themselves just by not doing the job. So if you can just stick it out and do the job and not make enemies, not ruffle feathers, dispense of the ego because you're there to do a job and not be the star or something. If you're there to be the star, then you'd have your own band already. So, just ego at the door and you'll be okay.
Are there habits or mindsets that you wish the schools would teach a little bit more to the students? I mean, because it's, it's kind of like you don't go into a studio and sit in the back and start talking, especially when you're not paid to be there. So it's kind of like more a fly on the wall mentality. And you speak on that?
So
there's a culture.
Right.
Right.
And to me, that's one thing. I mean, I wouldn't be the one to say how much it's really changed over the past 3 decades, but I feel like it's dropped off a little bit because of COVID. It's mentorship. And one, if you have the ability to bring somebody that you maybe see yourself in or wish the best for that person and they're looking for opportunity. I mean, yeah, why not let them be a fly on the wall if it's not going to create an issue? Don't just bring them and, bring in a posse or whatever, check and make sure it's cool. But, it's that sort of thing that will help people get into those environments and know how to act because you're there as a guest with them, not some party. Let's all go over into a situation. But I always think of this quote I heard from a master class I was at with a drummer named Duffy Jackson. He played with the Count Basie Big Band and is known as a drumming legend. I was there with my dad. He was giving a drum clinic, and my dad raises his hand and asks Duffy a question. He says, "What advice would you give to a young budding drummer in high school?" And he said, "Sit there and shut up." And I was like, interesting. A guy like that would tell me all the
time, Jack.
yeah. Well, just to go there and be quiet. What am I going to get out of that? And I'll tell you what. In my next 3 years of high school, there was more than a few times where I learned that humility lesson of, hey, you're in high school. You don't know everything yet, right? And to the point where I remember crying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because my mentors in high school and education mentors, would chew me out because I was being a know-it-all and everything. And the lesson is that when you're in these environments that, one, you've been invited to, you're a guest. This ain't your thing. Whatever you've stepped into, unless if people have invited you to contribute, then that's a part of knowing your place and also kind of knowing the role that you are. Even, again, if you're a guest. And I say this just because I've had experiences being in a studio myself where I've gone and I've misunderstood the role of why I was brought there, where somebody would actually tell me, "Hey, I want you to come here and I want you to give some of your thoughts on this," as they're working. And I would do so. And then somebody would say, "Well, who asked this guy?" I'm like, "Well, he told me that's why I was here." He's like, "Nah, man." I'm like, "Well, then I'm going to go then." So there's many sides to it, but a lot of it just comes to recognizing your role. And like we've been talking about this time, ego the entire time. Check it out the door. You'll be better off if you check it at the door.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I definitely did a few times.
How quick, how technology quickly advances. What is something do you think students need to learn now?
The big thing the past few years has been Dante.
Yeah.
Getting into more network-based audio systems.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah. I mean, I just bought a bunch of the radio catapults that just send it over Ethernet. Not that has anything.
As long as you use Cat 5 shielded cable.
Right. That's
you use that unshielded cable.
It won't. And man, there was.
But it's cheaper.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I came across a place they installed.
What do you think of the catapults?
I like them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
the new version of the Snake.
Yeah, I know, right? They're built like a
4-channel
brick house, and they kind of are the new version of the Snake. As long as you have something to cover your Ethernet cable, and it's not going over too many walkways, because sometimes like the snake is just, sturdy. That's what I would be using on a festival stage if I have the time. So, but permanent installs and stuff like, cat cable to me is the way to go. And that's part of the thing that I'm so excited about Dante, and that I'm excited to teach students, because there's so many benefits in the way that you can set up your workflow with Dante. Like I was just watching an ad for the Dadman stuff today with Sylvia Massey, producer engineer. Yeah. She was talking about how she has her whole studio tied in with not just Dante, but through the one Dadman unit, Dante, Thunderbolt, ADAT, AES, like all these different protocols, right? And I mean, to me, just to be able to have Dante in there, I'm thinking about putting our school into a Dante system, just because our concert hall is all on Dante. So if they wanted to do a live concert, I could just run a single cat cable and record the thing straight into our 48 channel audio console on a single cable, man. So if you can understand that, one, I think that will place you in the kind of present of cutting technology with live production and just the scope of how flexible it can be, specifically with routing. But it will align you to like really be efficient when you're building out setups. And especially as Dante is getting a little bit older, they're coming out with cheap boxes that will just do like Dante into 2 channels or 4 channels, and it's becoming much more accessible.
I agree with you, but there is another technology that is surpassing that, I feel, and that's AI. How do you talk to students in a way that's realistic instead of reactive?
Ooh, say that last part again.
How do you introduce it? How do you talk to students about AI in a way that's more realistic instead of being reactive?
Ooh, yeah. And you know what?
Sorry to throw that twist, but
no, because
it seems like a good topic.
No, definitely. And I would say I fall into the category of reactive, but I've been having to train myself to be less reactive, because the truth of it, in my opinion, and this is how I use AI, and I mean, you could look at studies. We all have been using a version of AI for, at least since we've had a smartphone. There's forms of it just
probably early, at least 2000. I would say the late 2010s, maybe.
Yeah,
2010.
So maybe. It's not like it's this new thing that's never been around. We've all been using it already.
Right.
And the core thing of that is that we are the users. We are giving it the commands of what to do. I like to say we're giving its marching orders. Right. Even if we're telling it, especially like with coding, that's kind of been the biggest thing that people are looking at AI as a resource to, is to just
make a website,
give it the script like and you go get a cup of coffee and it's done. So in the realm of
it's not that easy.
Yeah,
it depends on what model are you using,
and that's already over my head. So God bless those people. But in the realm of audio, we can really use AI in ways that can tackle issues that either we can't do so in real time, or just things that we can't manipulate with actual hardware equipment. So one of my favorite things I've been seeing with AI is this, it's his own thing. It's called alpha D feedback. Have you seen it?
No.
I think it's called D feedback, and it might be owned by a company called Alpha Sound. But it's basically AI feedback removal, in that it's hearing it in real time and removing.
Is it feedback. Like a box that goes in between? Like,
no, it's software. But you use like something like a Focusrite or a 2-channel interface to plug it in. It again, you just patch it in to your Digico or whatever it may be, and it'll do it in real time. Or if we think about things like the Oak Sound, the Soothe 2 plugin, that's really, really popular. It's like a multi-band dynamic processor that has a feel to it too. And then there's even like AI mastering plugins. And I guess the AI mastering plugins like Lander or something that kind of runs things through an algorithm and determines what needs to happen to your mix to get it to a point of a mastered mix for release, is that even within that, you're still the one that says this is good and this is not. Right?
Yes, that's true. I mean, I'm a proponent for it. So
yeah,
that's the argument against it is like, you're not creating that. I'm like, well, garbage in, garbage out, same concept. Like if I put it in there and I tell it to manipulate this and do this and I push it out to the world, that's 2 steps that I did to create it. I came up with the idea, solidified what it was saying, and then pushed it out. I have a friend that's developing plugins with AI. It's pretty remarkable to be able to, you don't need a software engineering degree anymore to do it.
Yeah. In and of itself.
Well, maybe you do, but
I think it's always wise when you're using AI in a way that you haven't used it before. Like I was talking recently about like AI concert posters and things like that. Like it's so easy to generate an AI concert poster.
They all look the same though.
They all look the same.
I try to prompt it like, hey man, don't use your normal orange and red colors.
Right. So in my mind, if I'm making a concert poster and if I'm making a concert poster, I've probably seen a few concert posters. If you're probably like a musician or a venue owner, you've probably seen more than a few concert posters if you're making one now. So in your line of logic, at what point are you skipping the part where you want yours to be unique? And to me, that's part of the value of having an expert, is they can at least tell you all the possibilities or help you consider things that you haven't. And that's the benefit of, paying for a graphic artist where you can collaborate, or at the very least, put what you think it should be in there, because I'll tell you what, it will be more interesting than looking at the same thing again.
It'll catch like a graphic artist, and a graphic artist is going to have already this mindset on creating and what their expectations are. It's kind of like an audio engineer. We have a expectation and a mindset of what we already are looking for. So I think the graphic artists probably have a better leg on creating those graphics already.
I think
maybe they
feel
have a
like
better
they
eye
should,
for it.
but you know what? I think they've been, of all artists, I think they've been the ones probably the most harmed from AI. Just in how easy is it to generate an AI image or something? I think I've done it twice, both times to mock people, friends of mine. And that's my motive for using AI generated pictures. It's only to mock my friends.
Take a snapshot of you, take a snapshot of this, and let's see what happens.
Said, what would this guy look like if he wasn't ugly?
So, hey, I started a new thing last episode, and I kind of wanted to see. Well, here it goes. I call it the fast round. Okay?
Oh, cool.
Your favorite microphone?
Ooh, favorite microphone, Neumann M49.
Nice. Your favorite DAW?
My favorite DAW, Universal Audio Luna.
Nice. Live or studio?
Studio.
Why?
It's being in the studio is, for me, it's like it's around Christmas time and you're at your parents' place, the fireplace is going, the Christmas tree is it's just like all the warm fuzzy feelings you could possibly imagine, even in like the Nashville, Memphis style tile rooms, or if like you're in a sweat locker room. Every single time, dude, I get the warm fuzzies. So studio's home for me.
Okay. Biggest audio myth?
Biggest audio myth?
Yeah.
Louder is better.
Good one. Best career advice you've ever received?
Sit there and shut up.
That's true. One piece of gear you think people overvalue?
Oh, that's a good one. Overvalue. Wow.
Like, man, you love that thing? That thing's junk. Starts with a B, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, wow. hang on, I got to think about that. Overvalue. What? I've done so well to be on gigs to look at people's setup and not let them piss me off.
I sell vendors like that, so I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. Even though I believe it starts with a B.
Yeah.
We won't say it. Don't say it for me. Overvalues.
I'd say okay. So here's your something that people overvalue would be in-ear setups. For if you're a restaurant band or if you're in a room where you need to be listening to each other. Just because you have all the headphones and or this would be my point to answer, subs. So many times I've been in rooms where the subs are on and it's just not needed. So I guess subs.
I think it might be a jazz thing. You think?
It definitely is something that bothers me when I hear my kick drum that has nothing below 100 all of a sudden appear with a 30 hertz rumble that usually gets my blood boiling a little bit.
Filter mind.
But no, some people go crazy. I mean, the in-ear setups are amazing, but sometimes they just end up taking them out anyway. So I don't know.
You know why they take it out of one ear?
Why?
Because they're claustrophobic.
Is that like a link to that?
Thing.
Huh.
Well, they feel claustrophobic because they can't hear the room. So they take one ear out to hear the room, and then But don't you just go deaf in one ear?
Oh yeah, and that's been my trick. Is like if I take one out, because sometimes as a drummer, if I don't have a mic pointed at the room to feel out the loudness of the room, I have to take one out. But I can't do it if I don't have an earplug with me. Because
If every student can remember one lesson 5 years after graduation, what would you hope it would be? That Jack Miller is great.
No. Is that you only lose if you quit. So whatever version of success that you have for yourself, the only way you're not going to get there is if you quit. Does that make sense? Did I say that grammatically correct?
No, I think you said it.
Yeah, you know, it comes back to patience. It comes back to humbling yourself. It comes back to, sitting in the room and being quiet and taking every opportunity as it is and kind of believing that you're on a path. And as long as you're doing what you should be with, whether that's with the help of your friends or always having a good mentor is invaluable. But if you stay the course, you'll get to a place. And sometimes, like we've talked about, it's not the place that you thought it would be. But the goal is to arrive at a place that you are content and satisfied. And that kind of comes with how much do you love what you do. And to me, like, if it's music, I love it. Like, some people ask me, pick drums or audio. In a heartbeat, I say drums. But man, I would be just as happy if I could only do audio for the rest of my life in any capacity. And I'm cool.
Bro, audio's like back in school. I graduated in school 2005, but I had a thing called Audio for Life, and here I am.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just that. So just stick with it. It's like with anything in life. If you stick with it, you'll see the other end of the tunnel. But I'll say this. This is if I was to say a golden rule that I tell my students is whatever you do, don't let it be at the detriment of your clients or yourself. And what I mean is, whatever you got to do to get the job done, don't let it be at the sacrifice of the client, and don't let it be at the sacrifice of like your health. You know, we all got to grind and do the late nights. We're not talking about that. We all have sleepless nights. That's child stuff, you know. we're talking about, you know, if you're vomiting or you know you're
some crazy
you're
party
seeing circles or something like that, or you're under like some serious emotional distress, like that stuff, taking care of your well-being, like that stuff you have to pay attention to. And if there's jobs that are working against that, you got to address that and piece together a life that can work for you in that way. But look, take care of business and do the job that needs to be done. But again, it shouldn't be at the detriment of somebody else, and it shouldn't be at the detriment of your health. So that's kind of my golden rule.
Hey, man, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's definitely an honor. Definitely something we've been talking about for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's definitely something that young audio engineers growing up, or even those that have been around for a while, this is a good conversation. You know, it's kind of like a doctor has to go through remedial courses and stuff like that. And that's part of them remaining teachable too. So I think the most important thing is to stay teachable. And like you said, don't give up.
Yeah.
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 Jack, thanks for being on the show, man.
Jeff, you're the best, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
Thanks, dude. Peace.